Hey guys, welcome to my React segment for this week. I'm Purist, and today we're going to be going through the last little bit of every single Warhammer 40k faction re-explained part 2. So settle in, grab a drink, grab a snack, and watch this with me, why don't you? Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go.
Do so. With his head lopped clean from his body, the brides of the Emperor were no more, and the ecclesiarchy signed a document
Subtitles.
to stop Van Dyer's reign from happening again. They would no longer be allowed to have men under arms. Men.
Yeah. The Adeptas Sororitas. All the nuns.
The Adeptus Sororitas, or commonly known as the Sisters of Battle, the nuns with guns, the fighting force
nuns
of
with guns.
the Church. Despite being the main militant faction, the Sisters of Battle, their organization actually is far more diverse than this and have many more nun-based roles for their members. They are organized by various orders with various specialties in mind, such as the non-militant orders like the Hospitaller, Dialogus, and Familius, including things like helping with surgical equipment and various other medical stuff, Duolingo, and a poli-sci degree.
That's actually funny. Because you don't find many uses for a poli-sci degree, even now. So. Also, Hospitaller. I recognize that name. I understand that reference. Useful.
These orders are further separated into smaller orders in an almost Space Marine chapter sense, but tend to have more flexibility due to the nature of their work. And in addition to that, there is flexibility between the orders. It is not uncommon for a member of one of the more battle-hardened orders to switch to a more passive one once they've sustained battlefield injuries or are a bit closer to retirement.
I mean, to be honest, that kind of makes sense. Really. And also, technically speaking, if we're being, like, super specific, you technically do have, like, a way to stretch out, you know, to quote-unquote retire when you're a Space Marine. It's just not technically entirely on purpose by the Space Marines part. It's like, you fought very well, but you've been half blown up. I'm gonna put you in a box on legs and have you continue. Because, yay. So you can continue fighting while also being a cripple. Yay. This is not really retiring, is it?
As mentioned before, the Sisters of Battle are a part of their own separate organization, the Order's Militant, and feature the highest number of any given sister. They are the official fighting force of the ecclesiarchy, and they specialize in wars of faith.
Look at this fucking art, man. Also, might be problematic for me to say, but I kind of still wish we had Orders Militant for the faith in real life. Because, just vaguely outside of the world, what's going on around it, and yeah. Anyway, we're supposed to enjoy. We're supposed to be enjoying things.
Unlike the deployment of Astartes and Guardsmen, the Sisters of Battle are often deployed with members of the Inquisitorial Ordo Hereticus due to the holy war nature of their battles. The Sisters of Battle are suited up with their own form of specialized power armor that gives them almost like a Joan of Arc vibe to the battlefield, though lacking the more...
Dude. Joan of Arc used to be my, like, well, actually, kind of still is one of my favorite, like, historical figures. And also kind of, like, caused my, you know, first questioning of, like, you know, the Christian faith, because I, you know, grew up in a, you know, got taught, like, by, like, a very religious, frick, what sect is it technically? Unitary Church. That's it. Unitary Church. Private school, which I found out about, like, Joan of Arc, and I asked my faith teacher, oh, why did this, you know, Christian country, France, off this literal girl, teenage girl, for believing in a slightly different version of said God? And he couldn't answer me. Yeah. That kind of, like, you know, broke my, you know, relationship with religion pretty damn quick. But also, I mean, as I've grown older, I kind of, like, you know, I see the value of, like, you know, Judeo-Christian religion in the case that it basically gave us an actual, you know, decent morality system that, you know, is the basis for a pretty damn advanced society. Other faiths, which shall remain nameless, Muslim, don't really have that sort of morality. In fact, they are very, you know, opposed to said morality. They are, very much opposed to anyone else with another religion coexisting in said world. So, yeah. In conclusion, we should have, you know, inquisitorial faiths. Not inquisitorial. Militant, faith-based orders again. It's my opinion, though.
Extreme modifications of a Space Marine's power armor, mainly to the fact that Sisters are, for the most part, regular humans. The power armor of a Sister of Battle almost matches the defensive power of an Astartes, but with added flexibility and versatility in exchange for its strength. Some of the patterns of armor do allow for the enhancing of genetics, but this is far from the norm. This, combined with an arsenal of tanks and vehicles that have literal church organ rocket launchers on them, really brings across the holy war vibe in a gothic manner.
I love freaking Warhammer. Oh yeah. Our faith has, like, literally the ability to drop a weaponizable fucking pipe organ onto the battlefield. To pipe holy mantras at your face. Yay. I was about to say get sounded, but that could have a little bit bad meaning. Don't look it up.
Accompanying a sister of battle in the fields of war is the holy trinity of weaponry. The bolter, the flamer, and the melta. With such a simple loadout, the sisters of battle are able to bring down the glorious flames of the emperor himself, and his holy light shines on them in other ways during a conflict.
Yes.
Hell, even their jump packs evoke angelic imagery as opposed to the more clunky jetpacks, ones that Space Marines have. In times of great turmoil or impossibility, a living saint of the sororitas itself might appear on the battlefield surrounded by a litany of doves and cherubs, an almost comical scene of holy glory followed by literal hellfire.
Well, that's based. I have to assume their faith is like literally so hardcore that they literally induce a saint to appear and rain down holy fire. That's sick.
The Sisters are a fascinating organization because they take what is normally seen as a benevolent force and turn it on its head to be a horrifying method of war. Because the Sisters are so zealous, they are nigh impossible to persuade and almost never fall to chaos. In fact, any deviation from the Imperial faith may see you killed outright as you are deemed a heretic, and sometimes Sisters have even less patience than the Inquisition does.
Also, I feel like I should clarify on my earlier statements. I'm obviously not talking about all of the Muslim faith. I'm obviously talking about the extremist parts of it. I feel like I have to say that so that people won't yell at me. Even though people don't yell at me, I feel like people are gonna yell at me in the future. Preemptive covering of ass. Thanks, YouTube. Am I inclusive yet? God, I need a fucking, like, something popped in my head. I shouldn't say it. I stopped myself. I'm good.
To the Adeptus Sororitas, no punishment is too extreme for blasphemy and heretical behavior. Whether it's lobotomizing traitors to use as shock troops or attaching them physically to agonizing pain engines so they can die for the Emperor, anything goes. The most fascinating part of the Sisters, however, is...
Hang on. Are there the people who actually, like, collect, like, you know, psychers to, like, plug into the Holy Emperor's throne? That might be wrong. Is that what I'm getting from this? I don't know.
It's their faith. We discussed how orcs often make things happen through belief because of their sheer number of them. The Sisters create miracles where they walk.
Oh my god, I was literally correct. It's good when I'm right. They literally induce through their faith to cause, like, miracles and, like, saints to appear. Dude. Imagine believing in something that hard that you literally induce things to happen just because you believe in it. It's like... I was gonna say gaslighting the entire universe, but it's like, like, don't know the word for it. Like, force? No, not forcing. Like, This is why Warhammer 40k is, like, legit awesome.
They are not many psychers like orcs, but they are excessively devout and make up for that. Bullets barely miss targets.
I think I meant to say devout there, not devote. You know, whatever.
They absolutely should hit. Guns jam, tanks malfunction, enemies slip and fall. The scene from Pulp Fiction is an accurate portrayal of what happens when the sisters fight.
I'd knock that shit off if I was you.
Die, you motherfucker!
What? Huh.
One of the most prominent figures is the Triumph of St. Catherine, a literal open casket with the saint of a sister's order held aloft by lobotomized servant cherubs and protected by bodyguards of the faithful. The devotion to the emperor swells so strong that acts of faith are made manifest, and sometimes angels themselves. When the sisters go to war, they have thundering organs and litanies screeching out into the battlefield, hymns and songs.
Okay, this is very freaking cursed. I mean, I mentioned earlier in the video that I went to a very Christian like private school. I'm just imagining those songs being like blasted out by these like battle sisters. It's just like these peppy like freaking Christian songs as they're like burning like orcs in hellfire or whatever the fuck. like you just hear like screams and like blood and slow down, and it's just like, Jesus is a rock and he blows my blues away. Shoo up, shoo up, shoo up, woo. Or like some fucking like Christian okay, that is starting to live rent free in my head whenever I think of this as a battle shit. Like instead of an organ, it's like a freaking like portable oh, what's it called? The fucking like the modern churches with the stage and like the it's like one of those. Instead of like the organ, it's just like oh my god. That is amazing, actually. Oh, dude. That is amazing, though. Oh, mate.
Rabble off prayers on their lips and burn holy fire across the area. They spray holy water down from horns atop their vehicles. It is a genuine holy war, a procession of death. Saint Celestine is an undying deity, arriving precisely where she is needed and returning to the fold after each death. When she
Okay, that's amazing. So, Saint Celestine is Gandalf. Saint Catherine is never late. Dear sister, nor is she early. She arrives precisely when she means to.
she dies, she sees a crying young girl atop a mountain of bones. Her bones, after every one of her deaths. She climbs this mountain every time to help comfort this crying child and is rebirthed upon the battlefield. And one
Dude, that's hardcore. Actually. That's hardcore.
day, her deaths will create a mountain so large that even she will not be able to traverse it. Is she a demon of the God Emperor? Perhaps, but she'll be shot for saying so. She is genuinely and literally faith made manifest.
Okay, that's an interesting point. Yeah, since the the God Emperor is technically a god, does that mean that there are quote unquote demons in service to him? That is very interesting. Huh. Neat philosophical argument there.
Some sisters may make a mistake, however, and find themselves questioning their faith, disobeying a command, and even leaving their order. These sisters are sent for reconditioning and are known as the Sisters Repentia. They generally face the
For some reason, I can't talk. Has nothing to do with what's on screen right now. Absolutely none. No. Shut up.
front of the line head on and seek retribution and forgiveness from the Emperor himself. Though their actions were heretical, repentia on the fields of battle is an indication of an individual wanting to become forgiven. They run aloft with torture devices attached to their bodies and a chainsword the size of their body, completely armorless, to determine if this is how they die or if the Emperor will forgive them. Even the most famous champion of the sisters, that Saint Celestine, was a repentia. Even she questioned her faith. And if she can do it, so can you. Just don't run away again. They don't really do third chances. The Sisters of Battle are martyrdom-enthused zealots that create miracles in their tread. Their devotion is boundless and also a direct source of their power. A whole army of power-armored soldiers shooting, burning, and melting all in their path is bad enough, but it enters a whole different level when God is on your side. By bolter shell, flamer burst, and melta blast, the mutant, the heretic, and the traitor alike are cleansed of their sin of existence. So has it been for 5 millennia, so shall it be until the end of time.
Dude. Cleanse of the sin of existence. That goes so goddamn hard. Yep. Even though I myself implanted that horrid imagery of them, like, their battle hymns being literal, like Christian, teeny bop songs and like Christian rock. They're still bloody badass though.
The Imperium devolving into wars of faith is to push its agenda further. Where the xenophobic nature of humanity was once strong, it has now been magnified, and there are plenty of aliens in this galaxy. 6,000 years prior to the current events of 40k, a planet was found by an AdMech exploration vessel. The life forms on the planet were seen using tools, but they were still very primitive, so the planet was marked for destruction to pave the way for the Imperial war machine.
Of course.
However, this was thrown off because of an extreme warp storm and that whole Doge Van Dyer thing. Flash forward to modern day, and an unknown but highly
Doge Van Dyer.
advanced vessel was shot down near an Imperial mining world, and the bodies on this vessel matched those life forms found on that primitive world. The native creatures on that planet were able to evolve rapidly due to them being unobstructed, and their highly advanced gear posed a new threat to the Imperium. Advancing over these years with a remarkable speed, these are the new upstarts in the galaxy, looking to make a name for themselves, all in the name of the greater good. These are
The Tau Empire.
The alien is not intrinsically evil. Do not hate him. Pity him his ignorance. Seek to understand his differences and acquaint him with his inadequacies. Only then will he accept his place in the greater good.
This doctrine sounds awfully familiar. Seek to understand his differences and equate him with his inadequacies. Only then will he accept his place in the quote-unquote greater good. Not going to say anything, but this sounds very familiar. Glean from that what you will.
The early history of the Tau is chaotic at best. Due to their extreme speed run to space travel, their journey to the stars were overburdened with inner conflict. It wasn't until the appearance of the Ethereals that things began to settle. These Tau to the warring tribes marked their unification under one common belief, the greater good of the Tau Va.
What about the greater good?
The greater good. How can this be for the greater good?
The greater good.
This system...
Damn, that makes me want to watch freaking, Fuck. The name of the... the name of the movie escaped me now. God damn it. Shit. It makes me want to watch the Cornetto trilogy, honestly.
Is a caste-based system that seeks to unify and organize the Tau into an effective and successful society while working for their mutual benefit.
Caste-based society, eh? Again, sounds very familiar. Where they're like, you know, segmenting and ranking people subconsciously based on physical attributes and, like, you know, mental attributes. Again, I would leave it up to you to glean from that whatever you will, but it does sound very familiar again.
These castes, in order from lowest to highest, are the Fire or Shas caste, which is soldiers, Earth/Theo, which is manufacturers and industrialists, the Water or Hor, being diplomats and traders, and the Air/Kor, being Navy officers.
What is with the sudden avatar crap? What?
Also, you have the Ethereal/Un, which is the lords and leaders of the Tau. Now, unlike the paths of the Eldar, the Tau don't get any say into which caste they're in. It's determined upon birth due to inheritance from a parent. Trying to deviate from your caste or trying to do tasks or even use tools assigned to another caste is a grievous crime against the Ethereals, and those guilty of this crime tend to be sent to re-education camps.
Again, this is sounding very familiar. To a certain group. Yep.
Which sounds not so greater good, but a greater good than the good that the Imperium sees as greater. The guidance of
Wait, what? Hang on.
good, but a greater good than the good that the Imperium sees as greater.
The greater good would the greater It's like 1 o'clock in the morning for me. Yeah.
The guidance of the greater good also encourages the growth of the empire through the absorption of other races and cultures. The expansion of the Tau Empire is split into spheres of time. So far, there have been 5 spheres of expansion, with a 6th one being planned in the current timeline. The first 2 spheres saw the Tau move beyond their homeworld and settle new planetary systems, known as seps, and absorb multiple races into their ranks. But the 3rd sphere is where we see the Tau interact with the Imperium for the first time, which went about as well as you think it did. The Tau, as mentioned before, are highly advanced compared to some of the other species in the galaxy, and their military tactics are highly precise. Instead of the Imperial methodology of throwing everything at a problem, the Tau carefully...
Okay, I don't think I made this comparison before, but I seem to think that the Imperium Man uses like the Russian methodology of just throwing men at a problem. The Tau are kind of sounding like the Germans. Focused technology that's immaculately built, immaculately maintained, but better have good supply lines, otherwise it will break, and break hard.
assess any battle and take as many precautions as possible. Commonly, you will see a Tau warrior in a heavily...
Or maybe not German. Maybe just like America, actually. Just throw overwhelming technology at the problem and see it evaporate. Yeah, that's actually more... Yeah.
modified battle suit with advanced targeting systems.
I mean, cue what happened to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Evaporation. Anyway.
The Tau do not often consider close combat to be something very effective, so they don't really put much stock into it. Their Gundam-like battlesuits have a multitude of functionality, ranging from overwhelming firepower to stealth-based combat, and...
Yep. Definitely American doctrine right there. America combined with Japan.
Since they're an upstart species with a bit of technical flair, they...
Although, to be honest, America's, I mean, most Western nations getting like pretty automated these days. I mean, look what's happening in Ukraine. Just so drones the problem.
They have plenty of AI drones that help them in the field of battle. In addition...
Why I just say AI drones. This is basically what America is doing right now. Yo.
Into this, the Tau are also joined in the field of battle by some of the species that have been absorbed into the fold of the greater good. These auxiliaries often employ tactics that the Tau are unable to do on their end, such as the brute force and almost primitive nature of the Kroot, combined with the Geonosian aerial shock attack style of the Vespens. The Tau assimilate more and more species with time, including even some humans who wish to break off from the Imperium for, pick a reason.
No, I've seen like a few you know, comics and stuff. I'm pretty sure I know the reason.
Aesthetic of the Tau also leans a bit more into the East Asian sci-fi aesthetics. The large mech suits definitely evoke that Gundam look, but the general garb of their higher-ups kind of create that motif, and they often have accents in the games that they are in. But while Tau are...
They often have accents. Okay.
are looked at as Gundam mech faction by some, others enjoy them for the full coalition of aliens. One of my favorite images in Warhammer is this official artwork by Games Workshop. Now, not a single one of these aliens are a faction in Warhammer, and yet they all are different species that do exist in this universe. The Milky Way galaxy is vast, and while the Imperium and many others exterminate what they can find, the Tau will assimilate those that can be assimilated. The crew investments we already discussed, and the humans and also Voton will join them at times, but you also have the Galg, the Nikasar, the Vorg, the Thraxian, the Turellian, Greet, Domati, and many others. Some of these are just one-off lines, and some are major players in the civilization. The Nikasar are, for lack of a better word, gigantic psychic polar bears with bird-like faces. The
Okay, they ripped off owl bears. Okay, good.
Tau have psychic bears, and the fact I haven't seen this is a crime. The Tau as a culture are generally marred by the various issues that an advanced civilization would have in an unadvanced galaxy. They do not travel through the warp because of the insane dangers, but instead use a more classic FTL jump. However,
so they just bypass the warp just because they're advanced, but they're also primitive at the same time.
because they aren't going through hell, it makes them a lot slower than many other races. The Imperium might surf through hell and lose a few ships, but they will get there first. Often they will take enormous cannons and weaponry and defeat their foes before they can even close the gap. One of their light walkers carried a weapon of lethal effect.
They're light walkers. I see what you did there. Not to a certain Skywalker.
They fired a form of ultra-high velocity projectile. I saw one of our tanks after being hit by it. There was a small hole punched in either flank. One, the projectile's entry point, the other its exit. The tiny munition had passed through the vehicle with such speed that everything within the hole not welded down had been sucked out through the exit hole, including the crew. We never identified their bodies, for all that remained of them was a red stain upon the ground, extending some 20 meters from the wreck. The fascination of the Tau is that in any other modern day world, their society would be horrid. Rigid caste systems, corruption, and politicking ethereals, and basically it's the greater good or nothing at all. But in the world of Warhammer, the simple fact that humans are accepted into their sphere should they please already puts them
always
far
seen them
and
like very
above the other
utopian.
races that would murder or eat them. But despite this, the existential dread that is the Tau Empire is ever so apparent. Despite being hyper-advanced and welcoming a coalition of aliens, they are the upstarts, and they are painfully outnumbered on all sides. Almost any other faction in the universe, given the right amount of force, can wipe out the Tau Empire from existence. They themselves might not be perfect, but their slight glimmer of hope is exactly that, a glimmer in a dark and crushing galaxy. Of course, nobody dares take the attempt to destroy the Tau Empire, because doing so is an enormous amount of resources, and for the same reason why you don't full send your whole army to one person in a commander game of Magic. You open yourself up to player 2 and 3. But not to say it won't be a struggle. The Tau Empire, when prepared, are a vicious fighting force who might delete your formation before you even see them. But they lack numbers, and in the dark corners of the galaxy, something is coming that is entirely numbers.
2 minutes.
There is a cancer eating at the Imperium. With each decade, it advances deeper, leaving drained, dead worlds in its wake. This horror, this abomination, has thought and purpose that functions on an unimaginable galactic scale, and all we can try to do is stop the swarms of bioengineered monsters it unleashes upon us by instinct. We have given the horror a name to salve our fears. We call it the Tyrannid race. But if it is aware of us at all, it must only know us as prey. The conflicts of Warhammer 40k are chaotic enough with the sheer volume of violence that exists in the confines of the Milky Way. However, there is a threat to the galaxy that extends beyond our known galaxy that is creeping ever closer and cannot be negotiated with. What drew them to the galaxy is unclear. It may have been the light of the Astronomicon itself, like a moth to a flame. It could have been a Xenos device detonated in the Horus Heresy. It could have been that they were done eating the Andromeda Galaxy and they have come to take ours. Or they might be running from something far, far worse. Regardless of the why, the where, when it came to the first official contact with these creatures, was the planet of Tyran. This is the site where the Imperium encountered a fleet of these creatures before being utterly torn to shreds. Thus, these creatures became known as the Tyranids. There is plenty of evidence that the Tyranids have been lurking in our galaxy for years beforehand, but this was the first true instance of their presence being fully known. Unlike other creatures in the realm of 40k that can be talked to, captured, or negotiated with, the Tyranids are unable to be reasoned with. They are, at their core,
a hive
animals,
mind.
But not the fun kind of animals. They are the xenomorphs of 40k, and boy are they hungry.
Yay.
They are instinctively hardwired to either kill or be killed, and they are an unrelenting force due to this. However, just because they don't talk outwardly doesn't mean they don't communicate with one another. The true horror of the Tyranids is found in their driving force, the hive mind.
3, 2, 1. Hot in here by Nelly.
That's what I guessed.
What?
You see, the Tyranids are a collective consciousness that are all connected to a singular embodiment of psychic power that is utterly incomprehensible to the human mind. To keep this connection there, the Tyranids on the field of battle are followed around by synapse creatures, essentially serving as their Bluetooth connection to the greater hive mind. This allows them to send and receive information
Like
about
neurons.
the battle they're in, and it also allows them to adapt to certain situations based off of the information gained. Depending on the enemy, the swarm might be able to develop a new weapon or new tactics so they can get the upper hand. When the synapse connection is cut, they are unable to essentially form a save state and are stranded. The sheer power of the hive mind presence pours from each Tyranid in such a manner that it causes a distortion in the warp itself. A hive fleet's arrival can cause a dark shadow the size of several light years, coined the shadow in the warp. This shadow prevents any usage of the warp, or at least makes it exceptionally difficult. Communications shut down due to astropaths being unable to talk. Ships cannot freely enter the warp, and even creatures with a warp sensitivity feel an immense dread due to it. It causes everything to just kind of sit dead, like at a buffet counter waiting for the afternoon meal rush. The Tyranids meander through the galaxy in these gigantic hive fleets that are fueled by bioships, and these ships contain birthing pools for Tyranid armies and more ships. Everything about the Tyranids is organic, and to fuel this war machine, the Tyranids consume any and all biomass they come across and
Yummy
absorb it
biomass.
into their respective hive. From the ground to literally the air, the Tyranids strip a planet to a lifeless and uninhabitable hulk. As a means to curb the advancement of the Tyranids, the Imperium has been known to preemptively exterminatus worlds in the path of a hive fleet so that they have less biomass to consume in an attempt to starve them. The Halo method, literally scorched earth tactics by taking everything out of the freezer and lighting it on fire. Outside of the obvious threat and adaptive and unreasonable enemy posed on the field of battle, the most dangerous aspect of the Tyranids comes in the form of their general unpredictability. The Tyranids are external to the Milky Way galaxy itself, and it's unknown where they truly hail from. However, their arrival in the Milky Way is seemingly random and in 3D space, implying quite heavily that Tyranids have the galaxy surrounded in some kind of way. Due to this, you will sometimes see instances of species engaged in a separate conflict, both agree to a temporary truce in order to take out a Tyranid threat. Because regardless of the stakes at hand, the existence of the Tyranids marks the heat death of the galaxy,
existential
and
threat.
all the factions can ultimately agree that the Tyranids themselves act as the
bigger threats.
to all of them. The Tyranid race is truly an unknowable horde and pulls from that horror of the unknown. They, as a faction, are not ones with a large amount of general lore because their entire race is told from one point of view. By them. Tyranids are called that due to the planet Tyran they destroyed, as we mentioned earlier.
Don't know what they
call
themselves.
Phrases given to them by their victims: the Swarm Lord, Old One Eye, the Death Leaper, Von Ryan's Leapers, and so on. Despite the inability to even perceive the vast psychic hive mind of the Tyranids, they are fiercely intelligent. Special poisons and items designed to counter them are adapted in a matter of hours. If you bring light infantry, they create heavy monsters. If you brought weapon emplacements, they spawn little creatures to scour your vents and sewers. Many of you enjoyed the Servitor excerpt from part 1, and so bear with me as I provide you another very long account of a planetary governor whose planet is in the final death throes of the Tyranid menace. This starts about halfway through.
Alright.
It has been many weeks since a handful of us escaped the sinking of the Sea Fort Divine Anchor via airlift. We have escaped in this manner because the Tyranids had overwhelmed so much of our world, they no longer appeared to need to continue spawning beasts for aerial supremacy. I shall
Jesus.
never forget what I saw from my craft's portholes. Alien biostructures dominated Huto's surface. Gigantic, lumpen barnacles pumped out clouds of matter to further poison the planet alongside pulsating, brain-like nodes that resembled lethal fungi. Immense capillary towers stretched high into the poisoned sky. The glistening chitin coating their flanks crawled over by chains of lesser beasts fulfilling some sick alien purpose I cannot know. Digestion pools spread for miles, replacing our once great lakes with reservoirs of bubbling biomatter. Tides of creatures bloated with consumed flesh vomited their guts into the pools or threw themselves entirely into the billowous liquid. Amidst the seas of feeder beasts consuming all in their path, we would every so often see an explosion or a burst of fire. Were these heroic final stands by other survivors, or merely abandoned ordnance detonating at random? I will never know. I cannot rejoice in the deaths they inflicted. The biomatter of the dead Xenos was surely recycled by the Xenos regardless in no time at all. Our aircraft ran out of fuel a week ago. Now I stand in the snow, not far from the peak of Mont Saint Hila. I am the only one left that I know. One by one, those with me perished. The slightest cut on a mountain rock resulted in an immediate infection that left the pilot screaming in agony. Her co-pilot fired the shot that ended her torture, and my senior aide threw himself from a ledge, the reality that there was no escape hitting him. I have no idea what happened to my chief medicae. Others were slain by lone beasts the rest of us were unable to kill or drive away. A justly deserved end will soon be mine. I have failed on every possible level. We were not even able to send word. An alien disease has me within its grasp. My limbs are numb, my tongue is dry as sand, my head throbs. Even at these chilled heights, I sweat profusely. From here where I sit, I can see the final death unfold on the planet entrusted to me. Before me is the Radarin Ocean. The water level is visibly dropping, hour by hour. They are even taking our seas. There are enormous beasts with great, slowly flapping wings and immense open maws moving through the sky. I may be at high altitude, but the air is thinner here than it should be. I know enough of mountaineering to know that. They will not even leave our air. There is an isthmus I can see, upon which is sat one of the Xenos capillary towers. Now I believe I can tell what they are truly for. High up, foul Xenos bioships cling to their flanks like twisted calves at their mother's udders. They are feasting, I am sure, hungrily filling themselves to burst on the hideous gruels that are what remains of my people. I have witnessed the planet's death from sinister start to hideous conclusion. I see the power of our foe, and though I have shown boundless weakness these past months, I do not see how we could ever have won. If this is any sort
Yo. Mate. I mean, you know, those like biological, you know, the quote unquote equivalents to the Tyranids in like Stellaris. I feel like they're like half-assing it now. The Tyranids really do take everything. Because I suppose it's true, like, when there is like a habitable world, life literally is everywhere. Therefore, they must take, like, a civilization like the Tyranids must literally take everything and strip it of life in all of its forms. From like the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. Mate. Wow.
Sort of good news, it seems that one thing that might be an inadvertent repellent effect on the Tyranids is chaos. Chaos and chaotic energies offer no nourishment to the Tyranids, they cannot eat that. And the presence of rifts and warp storms work as a means to starve out the Tyranid fleet. The Tyranids, of course, are attempting to adapt to this, but it seems that even at the most primal core of the galaxy itself, Chaos agrees that these dinner guests are not welcome in any way, shape, or bioform. In the end, though, the Tyranids represent the final fears of the galaxy itself. Despite the goals to conquer the galaxy as a whole, the remainder of the universe may very well be dead and derelict space. Instead of endless worlds and solar systems, it may just be bones and ash. The tendrils of the hive mind have wrapped themselves around the galaxy, and the only thing that's guaranteed is that dinner is served. However, the Tyranids are not simply the unending hordes of bugs. Beyond the more general buffet tactics of the force of the Tyranids, the hive mind has a more secretive and dangerous means of planetary conquest in the form of something a bit more terrestrial. General upheaval and revolution. However, though the idea of a societal revolt for the good of the populace is an admirable thing, these leaders have the nefarious intent of the hive mind itself. These are the downtrodden and the oppressed, the revolutionaries to a better cause, the heralds of the Star Children. These are the
Gene Stealer cults.
In the sunless body of our hive, the flock of the faithful grows. We are guided by our great father's sacred vision, protected by his loving hands. Within these holy shadows we dwell, while the impure bathe in spire-topped starlight. And what lies between those stars? What sails beyond those distant suns? Shrouded in night, born within that eternal black, our redeemers, our gods, truer than the silent, long-dead emperor, the children of the void. We hear them in our dreams, we feel them in our blood. They call and we will answer. We will rise and claim the engines of labor that have bound us in servitude. This world will burn. It will be cleansed, purified, made ready, and the heavens will deliver our reward.
Okay, this definitely sounds like indoctrination from, like, Mass Effect. Legit.
The ground zero of a Gene Stealer cult comes in the form of the Gene Stealer itself.
I mean, Reapers essentially do the exact same thing as, like, you know, Tyranids do. The only catch is that they integrate it within its technology and make new Reapers with said biomass. So, yeah. Very similar.
Deep in the depths of a planet, a Gene Stealer acts as almost an advanced recon unit for the Tyranids, and were the first Tyranid units encountered by the Imperium itself long before the first Hive Fleet made its presence known. Unlike the Tyranids that can only reproduce through the birthing pools in the fleet, a Gene Stealer reproduces via the Big Smooch. The Gene Stealer kiss is essentially what the facehugger alien does. It attaches to a victim and releases an embryo. However, instead of a chest burster, the embryo alters the genetic makeup of the host itself, turning it into the primary conductor of a localized version of a hive mind known as the brood mind. Any offspring that this host produces is known as a gene stealer hybrid, and the host assures their survival to continue to reproduce. The first few generations of a gene stealer hybrid look more like the gene stealer itself, which in our current reality would be terrifying. But considering how the vast majority of humanity is a little mutated in 40k, doesn't stand out as much as it should. As the generations continue, the mutations and the general alien look is almost entirely phased out, and the resulting hybrids look almost identical to the species that they once were. Due to the size of most worlds, the makings of a gene stealer cult can exist almost entirely in secret, generation after generation. After a certain period of time, those hybrids will make their way into generalized society. Still connected to the mind of the gene stealer itself, the hybrids operate with the express goal of gaining power within society itself in a political and religious sense. Most of the time, they will present themselves as revolutionaries, looking for the betterment of the population. And honestly, it sounds great for a lot of the folks on the planet. By the people, for the people. As they expand more openly, the crossbreeding continues until all aspects of the planet's society is infiltrated. However, all bets are off when a hive fleet comes close enough. When a Tyrian hive fleet gets close enough to a planet,
do they just
the
like
brood mind
revolt?
activates essentially an endgame scenario. The once political and religious leaders become bloodthirsty fanatics that work to finalize the collapse of society and the death of those who oppose them. But to those in the brood mind, the god they believe in is coming, and this is holy justice and vindication for their religious and political beliefs. As the hive arrives, the planet is essentially ripe for the taking. The original gene stealer pieces out to the next world or is reabsorbed for deployment elsewhere, and the Tyranids begin to take the planet for themselves. The cultists sing praises and holy songs as the Tyranids begin to eat everything up in kind of a meet the pyro sense of religious delusion. But as they are harvested, some of them are snapped back to reality, oops, there goes gravity, before they are thrown into the biomass soup. For a fleeting second, they see that this was all a ruse to consume the world and that their false gods were a bunch of hungry bugs. The cultists essentially put the checkerboard dining cloth on the table for them and invited them for a feast. Due to the constant redeployment of gene stealers, there are known cults that pop up across the Imperium itself. Some of the more well-known ones are the cult of the Bladed Cog or the Rusted Claw, but there are hundreds, if not thousands, different cults that keep popping up all over the galaxy as the gene stealers spread. And due to their covert means taking over the planet, they are not generally viewed to be a threat until it is far too late. And due to the know-how of gene stealers, they tend to be predatory to those in the lower classes of a given planet. The gene stealer cults overall have really come into their own, commercially and artistically. They have very much embraced the revolutionaries aesthetic and crafted a fascinating method in doing so. It's this great combination of this pseudo-Marxist Bolshevik uprising mixed with the hills have eyes in the populace. What's particularly enjoyable about their uprising is that often from their point of view, the reasons they have are extremely justified. Most of the members of the GSC are the extremely impoverished and menial laborers of the Imperium, who honestly wouldn't need an alien presence to provide a manifesto on reasons to revolt. Their weapons are all makeshift and often involve things like mining lasers, drilling saws, demolition charges, giant stop signs. Their political machinations work quite well, as the cult ends up being really good at assassination, especially when you have a third arm holding a pistol beneath all those robes. They're a faction rife with fascination and culture, and their plans are generations in the making, to the end goal of being thrown right back into the soup by the star children they prepared the world for. And those are the threats to the galaxy now. The degradation of almost every species is now behest by the Tyranid menace, and all of the infighting between each and every single one of them will be their undoing. The world of Warhammer is a bleak and horrendous one, and that is in its own right the charm. It is so large, so vast, so absolutely horrendous and insane, and yet is treated with 100% severity and seriousness. In the beginning of part 1, I gave you an abridged and different opening to the Warhammer world, the grim darkness of the far future, and I leave you with this part 2 with the full quote itself. It is the 41st millennia. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of 1,000,000 worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day so that he may never truly die. Yet even in his deathless state, the Emperor continues his eternal vigilance. Mighty battle fleets across the demon-infested miasma of the warp, the only route between distant stars, their way lit by the Astronomicon, the psychic manifestation of the Emperor's will. Vast armies give battle in his name on uncounted worlds. Greatest amongst his soldiers are the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, bioengineered super warriors. Their comrades in arms are Legion, the Imperial Guard, and countless planetary defense forces, the ever-vigilant Inquisition, and the tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus, to name only a few. But for all their multitudes, they are barely enough to hold off the ever-present threat from aliens, heretics, mutants, and worse. To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter and the laughter of thirsting gods. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
And thank you, Bricky. With that, we end. Also, I seem to forget. He has made a Mass Effect video. So, would you guys be interested in that? Maybe? I mean, my Bricky videos on Warhammer 40k have been the most popular out of any of the reacts on my channel, so maybe? Maybe-ish? I don't know. I mean, yeah. Oh, actually. Trying to think. It's like my my reaction to one of Parrot Chan's videos. I know, it's either one of those. Anyway. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I will probably be hard pressed to actually find something else that I can react to, but yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed that one anyway. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. And if not, I have a fair amount of videos. Maybe you can you know, choose from those. There's a lot there. Anyway. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are. I have been Purist, signing off.